that we go over everything today, because we have quite an agenda today. So I mentioned that we were going to be here for a little under an hour. And then those of you guys who want to stick around and ask questions, or you guys want to go deeper about how you guys can get involved with One Life, we're going to have that opportunity as well. But the reason that we decided to do this training was twofold. The first is so many people are looking for answers right now, and looking for guidance and support. And so we want to be able to provide that. And then secondly, those of you guys who didn't hop on or weren't with us earlier, we were just chatting about the fact that we've never put together a training on what it means to live your one life fully lived. You know, we've talked a lot about it. There's we'll talk about the journal that's out there. There's been courses and programs, but there's never really been one concise training that you can, you know, watch and take notes on that will kind of encapsulate it. And that's our goal today, is that by the end of this, you come away with it ready to create your roadmap, to be on your roadmap, and so that you can start taking action on whatever your next goals are, or whatever your ambitions are in this new normal. So I'm going to pull up some slides here. We've got some just some things to make it easier for you. This is going to be recorded, so you can always go back and watch it afterwards. But Tim, before we kind of dive into the material, is there anything you want to just talk about in terms of today's training, or kind of what we've been doing over the last little bit?
Well, did you want me to get into the, you know, like why One Life, where I came from, or just a little bit into what we're doing tonight?
Just a little bit about tonight, because we'll talk about you and that whole story in a little bit.
Yeah, you know, I look in the chat and I see people who have been with us for a while, and people who are just starting out on their journey. And that's the beauty of One Life, is I've been asked to always tune in. Who is One Life for? You know, who did you create this for? And it's been such a challenge, because to me, if you're 3 years old, just waking up to the wonder that is life, you know, don't you deserve to get your best start towards your one life fully lived? And if you're 85 years old and you've just lost a spouse and you still got some gas in the tank, don't you deserve a whole new dream and a whole new incarnation? So we want to hit you wherever you find yourself along your path today, and help you focus in on the things that we think really matter to help you, as we've said all along, dream it, plan it, and live
it. Yeah. You know, when I got introduced to One Life, I think one of the unique things, there's a couple of things that I really enjoyed about it, and I'll quickly share them with you. The first was the authenticity of the people. You know, I see some of the people on the call, and we had Jeff Hoffman, who is he's a billionaire founder, and he's traveling the world, and he's done all these great things, and he comes on and he hops on and talks about the family that's One Life, or the family that he feels a part of is One Life. I think that's so valuable, it's just the people are so authentic and real. And the second thing that really stood out for me was the ability to create this holistic kind of success. There was when I got into personal development and personal growth, there were a lot of different, there were places where you can get help on your finances. There were places that you can get help, on your health, wealth, and your wellness, and all these kind of different routes. But there was nothing that kind of encapsulated everything, and that's what I think One Life is really about. And I think that you guys who are on the call, at some degree, that's what we're all searching for. And at the end of that, the word that we kind of put around that is fulfillment. And helping you to create a life that, a life of your dreams. And it sounds kind of artsy fartsy, if you will, but it's what I love about what Tim's done is he made it very practical on how to actually make that happen. So we're going to get into what that roadmap actually looks like. And so, as we were preparing for this, we had actually started working on this before the COVID pandemic had really set in, and before the economic fallout had really, it progressed, frankly. And as we continued to prepare for today, we thought that more than ever, a training like this is so important for everybody, no matter where they are at in the spectrum, because as we've done these Thrive calls over the last several weeks, what we've realized is that everybody is affected at some level, whether it's their health, their finances, they are having an existential crisis because they're stuck at home. But everybody is being now forced to lean on the tools that they have. And, similarly, a lot of people are realizing that now is the time to kind of upgrade themselves. And that's what One Life is about, is, really taking yourself to the next level of mastery in whatever that area is. And so there's a couple of stats in here, and I'm going to kind of get Tim's perspective on this in a bit, but one of the big things that stands out job, and there's the obvious unfortunate side of that, and it's an unthinkable kind of thing for a lot of people. But on the other side of that is the opportunity that a lot of people are faced with and have in front of them to create a new career, create and start a new business or whatever it is. And so in all of these kind of statistics, we find that there's a ton of opportunity, but also a ton of need. And everybody's on this call looking for something a little bit different, but we know that when you follow the One Life principles and you kind of create your own personalized roadmap, there is a recipe, to creating this kind of fulfillment. So, Tim, it looks like you can't, can you see what's on the screen here?
Sure.
Is that a little, let me
Yes.
see if I can make it a little bit easier to see here. And Carolyn, who's also going to be taking over our executive director role, she's also on as one of our guests. I'd love to open it up to you, either of you, to talk about, what people are going through and why it's so important for something, not only for One Life, but specifically even a training like this that gives them some of these tools.
Hey, Carolyn, let me go first, and then I'd love to hear from you. So here we are, all rolling down our normal lives, and we all got COVIDed. and it happened to everyone, no matter where you find yourself. And I'm talking, at a level where I had a good friend from my hometown who's in our Gobennets tribe, whose son took his life. And this stuff's just the and a lot of this was pre-COVID, but it's even worse now. We are all well aware of the opioid crisis and just the apathy, just and that's the the lowest emotion there is apathy, when you've just given up and you have no hope. And I don't know why, but my heart has just breaks for those people, because I've been there, and I know Carolyn has. And so that's why we created this program. And Carolyn, I'd love to, just see what you're seeing, hear what you're seeing.
Yeah, I agree. The statistics, thank you, Hector. These are, they're eye-opening statistics. And with One Life and what One Life encompasses, teaching the core four and the fulfillment triangle, I wish it was something I had when I was at the Salvation Army. I wish it was something that I would have known. And now looking back, and then all of us are hit by this uncertainty of COVID. The most dangerous thing I would say is the mindset of, well, I already know that. Because we have people on the call, we have people who will be listening to the recording, and they'll, some of us are at a place of curiosity, some of us are at a place of, okay, what do I do? And some are like, you know what? Maybe they're in that space of, I already know that. And those are the most dangerous words that you can say, right? Because these things, they come again. So, and we can always sharpen our skills. And so that's why I'm excited for us to be here today, because, and share and learn, Tim, from you, because we are in an uncertain time. And what a better time to be able to sharpen our skills and then gain some more knowledge to be able to share and elevate those that are struggling.
Exactly. Well said.
Yeah. And, one thing that we've also realized is that there are a lot of people who are coming out of this and using it as an excuse, an opportunity. They're finding ways to collaborate and give back. There's so much, whether it's tipping their delivery drivers, or, delivering food, or, picking up prescriptions. There's so many things that are kind of these stories that are coming out of the woodworks about people who are giving and giving back, and finding ways to, find that fulfillment, through that. So one thing that I think is really valuable before we kind of go any further is we want to talk about our guests of honor today. And some of you guys know Tim, some of you guys don't. I tried to find the most embarrassing picture of him, because those of you guys who have met him know that Tim is a fire rod, a lightning rod, all of them. Everything's on fire. Which is when you meet Tim in person, he sets you on fire. So Tim, I'd love for you to kind of talk a little bit about the beginning of this whole thing, how One Life got here, and specifically how your life played a role in the genesis of this whole community.
Well, if you heard me say before, my heart really breaks for those, who don't know that they can create their best life possible. And just quick on my childhood, I got off to a late start, barely graduated high school, was painting addresses on people's curbs at 25, and just a lost soul without an idea that how things could be better. And it took having kids for me, but it snapped me into, you brought kids into this world, and it's time for you to get yourself together. So fast forward a few years, I find myself where many of you may find yourself now. I was selling real estate with my family in a downturn in the middle of the 90s, and frustrated because I had just met with our whole team, and after making some profits, we were back down, and I'm worried about how I'm going to pay my team, and I'm just, I got this aching in my heart, and it's like, man, I just don't like where I am right now. And in that moment, I thought, well, what might an amazing life look like? And it was really in one of those, I'm mad as hell and I ain't gonna take it anymore. And I kind of flipped the switch and I wrote out my dream. And there were 4 things in it. I was gonna be, Hector, you've seen my view. I was gonna have the most inspiring view, financially free, all my family around, getting the goods in the woods, doing fun things I love that are adventurous. And so, I wrote out that dream and then just went after it with purpose and passion. And so it's kind of like, I feel like I've seen Oz and want to take as many with me as possible. So I literally retired at 40, and had a lot of time out in the boonies to think what's next. And I thought about how fortunate I was to have made a good life for myself, and how many people, don't make it, don't escape drugs and all the different things that would just pull your legs down. And I started thinking about all the talented people I knew in our world who could possibly help, as we say, throw the rope down and help lift those that might not ever get this message. So that's how we started One Life Fully Lived in 2011 as a 501c3 nonprofit. And it's just built slowly, organically, with everybody that's come into it, one person at a time, really, kind of having either a conversation with me or somebody else that was in there, and feeling the vibe that, hey, this is different. These people, they're ninja at the things in life, and they really care. And so it's grown organically into this wonderful organization with, Hector mentioned Jeff Hoffman, name one of our core 4 areas, and we have experts in every micro area of that. that we can call on to come lift our community in one way or another. So, and one other thing I want to say that's beautiful about it is we're all teachers, but we're all wise enough to know we don't know much. So we're all students of the game still. You know, I'm 60 years old and I'm like I'm an 8-year-old kid that's, you know, curious, courageous, and caring, getting after it daily. And that's the vibe we want to infect the world with. So.
I think one thing that's important to note is, you know, Tim had this success, and I think that we all kind of have this at a certain level, you know, no matter what kind of amount of success that we have. Ultimately, we realize that it's kind of empty without this giving back part. And so, Tim, I'd love for you to just quickly share that story. You know, I don't know if I think you've talked about being on a mountain or just kind of, you know, being fed up with skiing every day, you know, but I'd love for you to talk about what that transition was like, you know, going from having, you know, being financially free, living the dream, and then all of a sudden, you know, getting the itch, and then, you know, how One Life kind of emerged from that itch.
Yeah, and I think once again, I need to go back to my troubled teen years. And at the time, because I was so angry about my parents' divorce, and because I was so lost and had no tools, so I was one of the most selfish people you'll ever meet in your life. And how fun is that? Not at all. You know, it sucks. You give off a horrible vibe, and you know. So over the years, I think I've blossomed, and by the time I got financially free, you know, Tina had helped me, and other teachers that helped me see the things that really matter in life is throwing down the rope to others and caring. So like Hector said, I was skiing 100 days a year and just getting the goods in the woods and spending a lot of time thinking about what's next, because I did, you know, because I got up that first hill and go towards it, but not, you know, but anyway, I had the time to have those lots of conversations with myself about what's really important. And a few of my mentors passed right then, people that meant a lot to me. And my dad passed. My dad was a teacher, and I saw the hurting, empty world. And you know, so it was like I was with my buddy Christopher Lockhead, and you know, I told him, I just kind of had a dream of what it might be like, and then I told another friend about it, and she hooked me up with Brian Loves Life Rocha, and we had our little conference in Portola, California in 2011 with 92 people there, and Christopher Lockhead just rocked them. And that kind of set us off, and it's been growing slowly, organically ever since. And now we've really dialed in our teachings, and I think that's what makes all the difference.
Yeah, what I think is important for just you guys on the call to have you know, to understand as well, is that not only do we want to give these teachings and this roadmap to people who are seeking them, and that's what we love about our community and people like you, is that you guys are out there seeking this information, but we really want to bring it to people who frankly aren't looking for it and need it the most. And so we've gone into prisons, and we've gone into schools, and we've gone into rehabilitation centers. And I think that we wanted to share, just because some of you guys are newer to the community, just really, you know, I think it encapsulates kind of this giving back and throwing down the rope part. So I'm going to share this screen. Oh, I think I need to do this so that you guys can hear. And that way you guys can see some of the impact that people like you are able to help us create when you support an organization, or you're part of an organization like One Life. So hopefully this works.
Think about, how do you want to be remembered in this life? Because you only have one, and life is short. We know that.
Another part of wellness is what we allow to go into our minds. Your attitude is going to determine everything.
something that separates this event from others is the care and the genuine care that I saw here. We've had other speakers come before, and I've really appreciated them as well, though I felt that everyone was connected.
I've seen many other assemblies and speakers over the years, and this team really did a great job at reaching the students and really making the information digestible for them.
How many of you feel alive when you're surrounded by great people and good energy?
Oh, what makes me feel most alive is when I'm out with my friends, my family, and just communicating with them.
I like being around real people, and you can't find them often.
You want to be a speaker, you want to be a rapper, you want to be an artist, and you start finding people just like that who inspire you, who motivate you, and who can show you and teach you the steps to take in order for you to become successful.
To be able to provide that opportunity for them to think about what is vision planning, to think about what is relationships, finances, which is huge, and then overall wellness, I think gives them that perspective that I have a goal to reach, I have something to look forward to.
And my One Life legacy is I'm going to make my mark by being known as a musician, a sports athlete, and a freehand artist. Have universal businesses for surfing and skate company.
You don't need to just go get a job. You need to go get a life, guys. You need to go get an epic life. We're not here to just create employees that are like robots.
One thing that I took away was who to surround yourself with. Like, the people that I'm surrounding myself with is positive people that are going to influence me to do good.
You guys were really real with us. You guys didn't really sugarcoat anything. We're having real life conversations about things that happen in real life.
You gave us a chance in life to be something than nothing.
Thank you so much.
So I think the sound worked. Tim, were you getting sound there?
Yeah. Yep.
Awesome.
Could hear it great.
Wonderful. So that was recently this past.
Slightly delayed. Yeah.
I apologize, guys. That was this past October in Southern California, and even more recently, we've gone into Northern California and done these same things where we take the roadmap, what we're going to be teaching you today, and help people, frankly, who need it the most. So let's keep going. I don't know. Yeah, hopefully you guys didn't hear the next video that was playing there. Let's keep rolling with the training, and we have one other guest on today. And before we bring her on for just a little to kind of give you a little more backstory on her, we want to talk about I think some of the urgency and what's really going on for a lot of people. And this once again was all pre-pandemic and pre-COVID. But since the pandemic has broken out, there are an increase in Tim mentioned suicides, and there's an increase in domestic violence, and there's an increase in, I would imagine the statistics are going to come out, and I'd imagine that not everybody used it as an opportunity to get in great shape. And so, the world out there, frankly, is hurting. And we find that even those that are awake and are looking for the answers, it's not always easy to find and to sift through and to, get the help from people who actually care. There are a lot of ways that you can kind of go wrong in that whole process. And I think that's why One Life is so valuable for both people like you and those who are really, not even looking for this. But I mentioned that Carolyn Colleen is going to be taking over the executive director role for One Life. And she's just an overall badass. I mean, if you go through her titles, she has a doctorate, she's a mom, she's a professor, she's an author, she's a speaker. She ran a medical or a cancer center and so all of these things. And one of the biggest things that you'll find after being around Carolyn is she's also one of the most deeply caring people as well. And we thought that it would be valuable for her to just kind of share how she was, a little bit about her story, and more importantly, how she was able to leverage the tools and the resources around her to be able to get her through and get her past some of these challenges. So Carolyn, you want to take it over for the next little bit?
Yeah, hey, thanks Hector for the intro. So hi everyone, I wanted to share and come in and share when One Life discovered me. And It was an interesting time. I showed up to a One Life event, and I came into the room and I looked around, and I saw all these amazing people, and I met Tim Rode, one of the most generous and giving individuals that I had met. And I had come to a One Life event per one of my mentors saying, you know what, just show up. And so I showed up and I got in this room of amazing humans, and I thought, wow, I'm home. Finally, I found my people. And it was interesting because, you know, I come from the gutter. I'm a little Black girl that came from the wrong side of the tracks. I understood life and love to be the trauma that I started from age 4, where my overly friendly neighbor stole my innocence from me and then continued to sexually molest me for the duration that I lived next door, creating the next identification of decisions that I made in my life, onto teenage life, where I tried to take my own life. I took 25 sleeping pills with trying to end my life as a young teenager. Unsuccessfully, I came home and promised my little sister I'd never try that again, and continued to raise her after our mother left our home, and my dad lived down the road. Moving on to a very abusive marriage, being a teen mom, raising my little sister and my baby as a teen. And so all these different adversities that I endured in my young lifetime, where I ended up at the Salvation Army waiting for food. And at that point, I realized I needed to make a change, and I didn't know what. And I wish that I had One Life at that point. I didn't. And I continued on and pushed my way through college, working about 70 hours a week, going to school full time, and pushing and pushing and pushing, and breaking free from the circle of poverty I'd found myself in, and searching for more. I continued on building my career, raising my daughter, and pushed on through my master's, and I pushed on to my PhD. And at that point, one of my mentors that I found through the book Miracle Morning, right message, right time, right. I found my mentor John Vroman. My mentor John Vroman told me, show up at this, just show up. And I met Tim Rode, and it was a message I needed. You know, I had pushed and pushed and pushed for so long and so hard, being resourceful, trying to figure out how to get somewhere. And Tim had that message. He had that message of what we're going to talk about today, that fulfillment triangle, and the core 4, being able to elevate and be able to look at all of the adversity that I endured. And there's plenty of examples to give you an idea of my short lifetime and choices that I'd made, and giving me the opportunity to elevate my circle of influence. And since meeting Tim, since him throwing the rope down, I was able to go from 2 streams of income to today 13. So I published my book, I became a speaker, I became a facilitator, I'm a strategic planner, all the other things that Hector said that I do. But the most important thing is my family garden, my kids, like health and freedom and relationships. And so thank you, Tim. Tim threw the rope down. I elevated my circle of influence, and I'm proud to be where I am and be able to help others transform and elevate as well.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you very much. You know, it's really interesting about this. If you remember, I didn't throw the rope down. I was just there. I just put we're the door, not the doer. And I put the Philly event together. And if you guys have ever been to our events, I don't really speak. Number one, I have so many talented, amazing people who are looking for a voice. And I just want to be in the background finding amazing people like Carolyn. And I think you can see how proud I am, to have somebody like her who's been through the fire and has come out on the other side and is a warrior for can do, and for if it is to be, it's up to me. And that's what this is all about. None of this is, get rich quick. All you got to do is just think it, that's all BS. It's a lot of freaking work, you guys. If you don't think it is, just turn this off right now. We're not for you. But if you're willing to take a chance on you like Carolyn did, and you truly care and you want to dial in, like Sterling's up there, and he's somebody who's just recently got into our community, and you can tell he's got we call it the dreamer's disease. Sorry, Hector, from the song Get What You Give in the 90s. I know that's a bad word now, but a dreamer's disease can never be bad. Because once you're infected with it, you want more, and you're going to tune in and turn on, and you're going to do the work of what you need to do to make your one life fully lived. And Carolyn, I'm so proud and honored to, have you going to be running our ship. And, you can see with Hector and everybody's been on our calls. We have an amazing team that, we care about what we're doing. And we want you to crush your life so you're financially in a good place and mentally in a good place, so you understand the gift of giving back. And I talked about that, going from selfish to selfless. Well, guess what? Guess which is, it's so do the work, y'all. Thanks, Carol. What's next, Hector?
Yeah, let's get into, now that you know who you're well introduced to our guests of honor tonight, let's get into some of the meat of what we talk about and some of the training. And so you guys have an idea and a context. Let's just dive right into one of the foundational one life principles, which is this fulfillment triangle. And guys, I'd encourage you to take some notes, pull out some, your phone or whatever it is. And let's also ask that you make the chat a kind of a running box of golden nuggets. So if there's something that you learn or some insight that you glean, or even a question that you have, if you could just pull out drop it into the chat so that we can have this running list of all the great wisdom that Tim and Carolyn share as well. So Tim, why don't you take it away and talk about the fulfillment triangle and how this fits into to everything that we're talking about.
Okay, so your mission in life is to figure out where can you fit in and thrive? Where can you live this amazing, joyous, fulfilling life we were all put here to live? And my simple thought process is if you can find out where do your passions meet your talents, where there's opportunity, then you're going to thrive. And let's think about this. Your passions are, what do you love to do? What would you wake up every morning saying things like, and they pay me to do this? That's, you're doing something you love. And then if you're really good at it and you're making money at it, then you found where the key goes in the lock. And I kind of struggled from, my rough teen years and just I was a part-time grocery clerk, having to paint addresses on people's curbs. I knew I loved to talk to people. I knew, I wasn't shy and I didn't mind the word no. I just was a salesperson that needed a product. And then I got my license selling real estate, and it was like I put the key in the lock and it was on, and think of people who are living in this fulfillment triangle. And you just see them, they're exuding this happiness. And then think of people who are struggling, and they maybe one piece of this isn't missing or a few pieces of it, but or they just haven't really even thought of that they could have more, you know? And now think of yourself. Are you doing something you love to do, that you're good at, that you're making good money? And if you aren't, what might that be? If you remember, in my dream in 1997, I was in a place where I was mad as heck and I wasn't going to take it anymore. And I was doing something, you know, I loved to do it when I first started selling real estate and I was 25 years old. But by the time I had that dream, that incarnation's used by date was up. It was rusted, you know, it was old and tired. And some of you can relate to this. It used to be fun, but it's not fun anymore. So I needed a new dream, a new incarnation. And that's what life's all about, you guys, is just constant and never ending improvement, lifelong learning of, you know, in every relationship, including with yourself, every team you're a part of, your work, everything you do. Where do my passions meet my talents? Where there's opportunity. What do I love to do? What do I want to do more of? And almost as important, two things. One, what do I need to eliminate? Maybe it's a bad habit. Maybe it's a bad, you know, individual or a bad job. There may be something that's got a hold of your ankles that's stopping you from living within this. And it takes a little, you know, like moment of inertia to break through it. And that's why having a compelling, you know, dream is so important. But you know, all I've got to say is you're well worth it. And when you can have this concept in mind of this is my it, this is what I'm chasing, is where can I fit in and thrive? And that's the fulfillment track.
I'd love, Carolyn, for you to share, you know, you took a, well, I'd love for you to just share how this played into your path. You know, you've done a lot of, you've done both. You've done very much a traditional route in terms of lots of schooling. You worked kind of your way up the ladder, but then you've also started a variety of businesses. And so, you know, how has the fulfillment triangle, how have you seen that played out in your journey?
Well, I'd like to say that, yes, just like you said, I've done both paths. So, you know, sitting in low-income housing on Medicaid and food stamps, trying to figure out how in the world am I ever going to get out of this? Now, mind you, we do teach that that's one stream of income, because it is, and it's very real for many, many people. And I realized that wasn't the life. I didn't want to settle for that life for my daughter. Now, for me, at that point in my life, I didn't feel I deserved more. But sometimes you have to borrow the love you have for another until your self-love catches up. And so there I was, sitting there trying to figure out, okay, how can I break out of this circle of poverty? And the only way I could figure out how to do that is to hustle. So I done a lot of work, like Tim said, a lot. And that's where, you know, getting cleaning jobs, any jobs that I could get for cash, meaning cleaning houses. I had 3 cleaning jobs. I waitressed, I bartended, I registered for college full-time, accumulated a ton of student debt, which is I do not recommend this. And broke out of that circle of poverty. So I came up that ladder of a lot of education and a lot of school debt. And then, you know, working that, you know, exchanging time for money. I did a lot of that. And I built my career. And then within that fulfillment, within the fulfillment triangle, figuring out, okay, why did all this, what's the lesson to be learned? How is it that what happened to me could happen for me? So all of the, you know, the things that happened to me, now there's many, many, many more things of adversity. And how do I look back and say, man, what's the lesson to be learned here? And how is it that all these things that happened to me can happen for me, and what's the puzzle piece? What is that? And that's the fulfillment triangle. Figuring out what is that passion. And I found that my passion was to be able to provide transformation and impact. So going through the steps in realizing, visioning, and having that vision, which we're going to talk about, to really realize what is not that any of these things were right, but what is something that I can come out of it? What's the talent that I picked up? Now, the talent I picked up was that I was extremely resourceful. Okay, and how can I help others? Because even though I've been through so many different things, I still had hope. And how can I identify that opportunity? So through all three of those, I was able to identify that I could write a book. I could become a speaker. What else do I know how to do? I know how to connect the dots. What does connecting the dots mean? Being a strategist, and that's what I get paid for in the corporate world to do. And I'm extremely high emotional intelligence. Had no idea that's what that meant, but I read a book on it and realized that I had more emotional intelligence. So identifying what your talents are. So if you put, growing up with a lot of abuse, I realized that I can be, I should probably be a first responder because I can show up to a situation and think very clearly. What are those talents that, although in adversity, you may see the poor side of the adversity, which means it wasn't supposed to happen, but what's the thing that you can pull from it? And so therefore, that's how I became a strategist. That's how I learned how to build businesses, because I can see things in a different way. And so that's exactly what the fulfillment triangle is being able to identify what are things that maybe you do, or or that you've been through, that others may not really be able to see that bigger picture because of where you came from. And that's exactly how I did it.
I think that's great to see both of those perspectives. And so hopefully this gives you guys an idea. I'd love for you guys to, those of you guys who are on live, to let us know which one of the three do you feel like you've nailed, or do you have all three figured out? Is it your passion, the things that you love, that you have kind of figured out, and it's the other two that you're trying to hone in on, or which of these three seems to be the one that you've got figured out? I'd love for you guys to just share that so we can kind of see where you're at. Because once you've figured this part out, right, and this is something that constantly evolves, and it's something that can be applied to all areas of your life, and not just your career. But once you figure these out, the next way to really take your step along that roadmap is to master the core four. And so what we're going to do right now is we're actually going to do an exercise we call the One Life Core 4 Audit. And those of you guys who have been around, maybe you've seen this, but it's actually a tool that you can use to get a checkup, get an assessment, similar to how a doctor might do a checkup on you, or you might get an appraisal if you're into real estate. But this audit is going to give you an objective score on where you're at in terms of the most important things in your life. And so you guys at home, if you'd like, you can always get it at onelifefullylived.org/audit. I'm going to bring it up on our screen and we're going to kind of walk through it. And I'd love to have Tim get and hear his insight on the different, because we're going to talk about the different pillars, which are those of you guys who've been around: vision, finances, relationships, and wellness. And so this is the audit here, and we're going to go through each of these. And Tim, I'd love for you to just talk about the importance of the different pillars, and you can kind of take this core 4 training wherever you think is appropriate.
Hector, are you going to have him do the audit first, or should I just start rolling?
Yeah. I think that would be fantastic for us to give a few minutes for people to be able to do it. So if you guys can pull it up. It's onelifefullylived.org/audit. And Tim, why don't we just talk through some of these questions and we can kind of do it as people are, we kind of talk through it as people are doing it in the interest of time, because I think that we want to put a bow on this in the in the next 10 minutes or so. So why don't we just walk through some of these questions and people can kind of fill it out as they're going through it.
Cool. Well, so the core four, if the fulfillment triangle is the it that we're all searching for, where do I fit in and thrive? The core four is the basic teachings on how to get there. First of all, you have vision planning. What is my dream? What's that compelling why that's going to have you resilient, like Carolyn? When things are, your back's up against the wall, that dream is so compelling that it gets you up every day saying, no, I want that more than I want this. So the dream is, where am I going with it all? And then you have your marathon plan of how I'm going to get there. And then you break it down with a sprint plan of what am I going to do today? What am I going to do this week, this month towards that marathon plan? So that's vision. Next, we have finances. How am I going to rock the One Life ABCs? How can I earn more, monitor what's coming in, and defense wins championships? Where can I cut? And then avoiding debt and learning how to invest wisely. So that's finances. And then there's relationships. The relationship with yourself. That most important relationship. And if there's one thing I wish I had, at 25 to 45, was this sense of humor and love for, life versus being so darn angry back then. So that relationship with yourself is so important. And then who's your posse and who's your mentors? Who's influencing you? And the last piece, tying the room together, is wellness. That mind, body, spirit, holistic enjoyment, that joyous, fulfilling life, getting life's goods daily. And feeding your body nutritious foods and making sure you stay physically fit, aerobically strong, strength, flexibility. You have the whole package together. So you're fueling this one life dream that you were put here to live. So the it is the fulfillment triangle: vision, finances, relationship, and wellness is the core four. And there you have our One Life teachings in a nutshell.
So what the audit has done has really taken those key areas and then put them into some questions that allow you to really see and get a snapshot of where you're at. And so I'm going to jump back to the audit here, and I put the link into the chat. It's onelifefullylived.org/audit, but I put the link there into the chat. But Tim, I'd love for you to just talk about some of the questions here, specifically with vision, right? You talked about a plan. The second one is knowing where you want to live, knowing where your partner is. Why do you think that, or how do those play out into vision specifically? Why do we have those questions, about environment and partners and people?
Because, it's way beyond what are you doing. It's about almost like what's the feeling of what's the vibe of what your life is like on a daily basis. And we want you to think about, like when I wrote out my dream, I literally described the view that I look at now. And I could smell the pines and the cedars. You know what I mean? And that's what was important to me. And that's what, just think, if I knew I couldn't fail, what would my life be like? And you know, if you're younger, do I have a family? What are the things that really matter to me? And what are the things that, you know, just aren't going to happen? So,
yeah, absolutely. The next one is finances. And we've gone back and forth on this in terms of, you know, what do we put second? You know, vision is first. What's next? And we thought that finances was really came second in terms of, you know, if you had to prioritize or if you had to, you know, put some order to it, finances was that next one that we wanted to focus on. So why don't you talk about why finances play such a large role in this whole picture?
Well, it's just something, if you can't fund your dreams, there's not much anyone can do for you. You know, I had a young lady one day say, I love what One Life Fully Lives doing, but what are you doing towards climate change? What are you doing to save the planet? And she kind of threw me back. You know, I just didn't expect the question. And I said, you know what we're doing? We're empowering young people like you, that's your big that's your big why, to have the funds, to have the mindset that, you know, you're not going to change the world if you're living in mom's basement playing video games. It's not going to happen. So you know, you've got to do I think the word now is adulting things that are going to get you there. And that's paying attention, you know, to how can I earn more? You heard Carolyn say she had 2 income streams. Now she has 13 income streams. And you know, there's quite a few people in the One Life community that can tell you that same story, because we focus on these 4 core areas. And you know, what you focus, what you measure, you can manage, and it makes a difference. So rather than focusing on, you know, your things and being angry at red team or blue team, focus on you, and you know, take the time to work on you, and a lot of good things are going to happen.
Yeah. Juliana asked if she wanted us to share scores, and I think that's absolutely. I think that we would always encourage you to you know, feel confident in that. And I think the reason is that everybody, no matter where you're at, can have a high score, because everybody's has different things that they're looking for, and everybody's kind of grading on their own curve. So I'd love, you know, personally to see that as part of our community, for us to feel comfortable sharing those scores, because, you know, everybody's on their own journey, and you know, everybody can, you know, these things, there's no objective scores in here. They're all really in relation to what is most ideal for you. So the last one, or the last 2, are relationships and wellness. So Tim, what do you want to focus on here? We've got about 5 minutes left. You know, those of you guys who want to stick around afterwards, we can kind of extend the training a little bit. But in terms of relationships and wellness, what do you think is most important for mastery, or at least understanding, for the core 4?
Yeah, I would tie those 2 together, if you think about it. And it's the relationship with yourself and how well you treat your body. And I'd love to get your take on this too, Carolyn, but I know till 35, I treated my body anything but a temple. I chain smoked cigarettes, I ate donuts, and, you know, just ate like crap, and it didn't really matter because I could stay skinny. But you know, as that one took a while to catch on, and the other one that took me a long time, and I talked earlier about this is all lifelong learning, is a spiritual journey. I started off really slow in that path, and wasn't really exposed to it as a kid. So that one, just in the last 10 years, has been, you know, kind of like a new path for me. And in the last 5 years, and in the last, you know, since COVID, I found myself getting quiet a lot more, and going deeper, and tapping into source energy. And when I was younger, I was, you know, powerful and got things done all by sheer will. Now I feel I get more done with more of a being over doing, if that makes sense. So, you know, it's I think who you hang out with is important, who your mentors are, but that relationship with yourself is most important. Wouldn't you agree, Carolyn? Or do you have another take?
I most definitely agree, because the relationship with yourself is the most important thing. It's who is in your court. It's who you attract into your life, and it's you. It's you. You know, all the way to whatever end. It's you. So you better get along with yourself, right? And invest in yourself. And you know, I went on to get married, my second marriage, and I have two beautiful boys from my second marriage. And it's interesting, making sure that you are developing that relationship with yourself, because what is in the mirror is what you attract, right? How you see yourself is the partner that you attract. And that's a concept that I didn't quite understand. And moving and evolving on this journey of love and self-love is so vital, along with wellness. So wellness is not only in the mind, it's also in the body, and it's in the spirit. Now, for my third child, I was blessed with an autistic child who also has a very rare health condition, which gives him a life expectancy of about 35. Now, having that lesson to be learned is that I better get my mind straight in order to be the most effective parent that I can be, and then to also digest that kind of news, right? And so sometimes I sleep maybe 4 hours a night. Sometimes, you know, I have to, there's many resources that have to be tapped into in order to try and be the best parent that I can be, and try and get the most resources for my son. And so making sure that you are paying attention to that wellness, paying attention to that spirit as well, and then tapping into those relationships for support.
Yeah, I think taking care of yourself, you know, it's hard to take care of other people or be there for other people if you have nothing left in your tank. You know, this pandemic and this stay at home and quarantine stuff is showing me that for sure. So this has been fantastic, and I know that we could probably talk for hours, but this is very much, you know, I think a great intro. And so I have on here one more topic that I think is just important to just talk about, because Juliana actually shared her score. It looks like Obi put his score in there, and you know what I think is really important for us to see from this audit is that our score now is not like our IQ, or it's not like, you know, your SAT, which seems to kind of stick with you for the rest of your life. This score is something that's constantly evolving and constantly changing. You know, it could be daily, depending upon how much time and effort and energy and focus you are putting into your development. And so you can kind of see that there's some levels there, and the first one being novice or naive, and a lot of you guys aren't there because you wouldn't be on this call. Frankly, you wouldn't have made it this far if you were in that place. But someone who hasn't quite woken up yet. The next part is just getting started, and those who are realizing where they can grow and realizing where they have opportunities, on your way. And then the last level is, we call it the throw down the rope level, because that's, you know, the idea of the mountain, right? You're at the top of the mountain, and now those people who are at the top, what you see in one life is those people are turning around and now, you know, extending their hand, throwing down the rope to help out the people who are you know, are a few steps, you know, behind on that journey. And I think that's really the beautiful thing about One Life. So I'd love for you, looks like, I don't know if you can hear my little one in the back there. I'd love for you guys to just share, you know, as I was thinking about how we can wrap this up, or how we can kind of bring this to a close, you know, in asking, you know, was the last hour worth it? And the reason I put that there is I'd love for you guys to look back and find something that you can take from it, right? I think that it was a question that not only, you know, hopefully the answer is yes, and I'm going to imagine that the answer is yes, but what did you take from it, and what was worth it from this last hour, and what nugget or strategy or tactic can you take from this? I'd love for you guys to throw down there in the chat. And then if you guys have any questions for both Tim or Caroline, I know that Tim, we want to talk a little bit about the Contributor Club and ways that people can kind of take the next step, because I'm sure a lot of you guys are sitting there saying that this is kind of like a fire hose, and it's like, it's like, wow, where do I get started? And I think that the community and the programs that we've created for you can really help you along that roadmap. So I'm going to check the chat. Looks like you guys are typing right there. I'd love for you guys to put in there. Juliana said, where did it go? That we can all evolve and do better. She said the place where we're at is not forever. I think that's a great way to put it. And that's some great wisdom there. Sterling said sometimes you have to borrow the love from another until your self-love catches up. Absolutely. Beautiful. So the challenge with a training like this is that it's hard to fit everything into an hour. And so if you guys would like to stick around, Tim and Carolyn and I, and the rest of the One Life team have been working on a program to help those of you guys who are now saying, what's next, or how do I take this to the next level, or how do I kind of master these things? For the longest time, we didn't have a way that you could do that. We didn't have a way for you to be able to integrate these into your life and to really master these core four. But over the last, really much of the last year, kind of behind the scenes, we've been creating this program called the One Life Contributor Club. And we have some people who are on the call that are part of it. We mentioned Sterling as part of the Contributor Club. He's someone who's kind of dove in. I know Austin has recently joined the Contributor Club, and Joe Price is one of our Contributor Club members. And I might be missing some other people who are here on the call. But really, we created this group as a way for people who want to throw down the rope, who want to be in a place to give back, can do it in a way that also helps them invest into their future and helps them to advance and grow and master this different, the different core four. And so really what it's become is it's kind of like this, missing the slides here. But it's kind of like an incubator for personal development or growth. Or some of you guys are part of, masterminds and different groups. And we tried to pull all of the best parts of all these different programs and put them into one where you can do it by yourself. You can do it with some other coaches. You can be part of our community and our master classes. And so the Contributor Club has really evolved as a way to give you the tools that you need while also helping fund some of the programs that we're doing as well. And so, Tim, this was something actually you were hesitant, or actually there was some initial pushback from you regarding the Contributor Club, but eventually you relented, and you've started to see some of the benefits now from for some of our members. So I'd love for you to just talk about what the Contributor Club has meant to One Life and maybe, what it's meant to some of our members who are in it.
Hey, Sterling, did you do your call with Diego yet? How'd that go? Let's just.
It was great. Yeah, we talked today. I told him about what I had going on. He got to know me a little bit. We talked about his life, and then we actually talked after the call too. He gave me some resources. There's a website he wants me to check out, and just make sure I'm learning from what he did, what was successful for him, and how I could apply it. So I got some research to do tonight.
So Sterling, he's just recently joined our Contributor Club. We love him because he's a student of the game, and he'll do the work. And we put our job is we're like a point guard, and you're the power forward, and we put the ball where you can slam it. And we look at what are you trying to do, and how can we best connect the dots to put you in a position, I said it earlier, where you can be wealthier, just in every piece of your life playing at a higher level. And then you're in a position to help us, because we have big plans with this. We want to take this, into prisons, sober community. Both Sterling and Carolyn are familiar with the Salvation Army, and there's so many people, everybody on this call, you're at least aware, you know what I mean? And you've got tools, you've got things going for you. Imagine if you had nothing. Think of all those lost souls who has just been so much harder on them because of all, everything going on. So we see things getting tougher, and we see, people are going to have to pay more attention, and we want to help all of you crush your dreams so you can help us throw down the rope and lift, hundreds of thousands and hopefully millions someday. So thanks, Sterling.
That's really what it's become. Is it's this, there's a lot, it's a lot, frankly, and that's why we've done such a, we've been working on some of these things in the background. And so, but it really is a comprehensive way to really integrate the roadmap into your life. And so let's just kind of get into, what it entails. And so the great thing about it is there's a variety of support levels. And so you can get a lot of these benefits for as little as $49 a month, or if you want to really invest into your growth and also help fund a lot of our programs. There are a variety of different options, a $99 a month level, and then also a $299 a month level, which have some different perks and bonuses, which we'll cover. The first thing, though, which we wanted to make available to you was some opportunity for you guys to be able to master this material on your own. And so for the last year, we've been recording master classes with top, Robert Kiyosaki's and David Osborne's and Jeff Hoffman's. And, we have these incredible people, and it's you and just the contributor club member. And so this is really intimate settings where you can learn from these high-level people. And so you can hop on those live, you can watch the recordings. And then our contributor club members also have access to all of the talks and all of the keynotes that we've given at past conferences. And so they can access that in what we call our conference vault. And another bonus that they're actually getting early access to is our roadmap journal. We have a student edition and an adult edition, so they get access to all of those. We're working on a incarcerated edition, and we're also working on a couple of other versions as well. And our contributor club members, they get access for them and their families that they can gift if they like. And so we want to make sure that it's possible for you to be able to implement and master this stuff on your own. So there's a wealth of training, but we know that information alone can't really, information alone is useless, frankly. And so what Tim has been able to do is amass a wealth of people who are dedicated and devoted to One Life and One Life's mission, that have now donated their time to be able to give you coaching calls and to work with you one-on-one in all of the different, core 4 pillars, right? And so we have vision coaches, people that can help you nail down your plan and help you craft and create a plan and get some direction for your life. We have people that will help you with relationships. Pat and Sam are, not only are they a great One Life story, Sam actually came to a One Life conference in the middle of a midlife crisis and was able to really find herself through being around One Life. She had never been, a part of personal development or personal growth. And her and her husband, Patty, their relationship was on the rocks, and they even ended up signing divorce papers. And they came so far back from that, but that they're now actually helping couples improve their marriage. They just wrote a book called Marriage, and they've donated. Actually, Patty is on the board for One Life, but he's donated his time. Alexandra is an intimacy coach. Pat Hyben, who's a real estate titan. I mean, so there's all these different people that you can get one-on-one help with, and it's a really cool thing for you to be able to have access to this level of people. So when you look at some of those names, Tim, it's really a wealth of people. But what do you think is important for people to kind of understand about the coaches that we have for our contributor club members?
Well, the most important thing is they all have credibility. They've all, done it and aren't just starting out trying to learn stuff. They're pretty much hand chosen by us from a lot of people that ask to help us because they see we're doing wonderful things. So it's somebody that we know is darn good at what they do, number one. I also want to say something about coaching in general. You may have heard me say I barely graduated high school. I never went to college. I wish I would have kept track. I know it's somewhere between $500,000 and $1 million I've spent on my continuing education. If you name a training program or a trainer or a program, I bought it. I bought their top thing. I did everything. And I still do. I have 2 coaches today. And it has served me really well to find the experts who have done what I'm trying to do and let them guide me. And I said earlier, we're all teachers, we're all students. If you're listening to this going, I probably know more than them, we're not for you. But if you're curious, if you want to learn that next thing that's right in front of you, along with, this other thing, like maybe your health's not perfect and you need some help with your business, or you're making money with your business, but you don't know how to invest in this post-COVID world. I was financially free at 40, and we have 100 people in our community who've done the same thing, all with different models, that can help you do that if that's your thing. And maybe as somebody told us early on in One Life, maybe your thing's to go live in a tree in the redwoods someday. We are all for it. We want you to do that. Just quit talking about it and go freaking do it, And what's the logistics of living in a tree in the redwoods? And it sounds great, but how are you going to get your food? What you doing with your waste? You know what I mean? What you doing when the storm comes? So, sorry to go, I digress. But my point is, we don't care what your vision of One Life Fully Lived is. That's the beauty of this community, is you can't pigeonhole us. There's no judgment. We don't care. As long as you're legal, moral, and ethical, you're in, and we want to help you. So, consider this program. We'd love to help. So, yeah. What else, Hector?
Absolutely. Well, I think it's to encapsulate it. You get the trainings that you can do on your own. We also get the one-on-one coaching. I noticed Sterling, we can talk about him a lot, but he's been on I think, he really has dove into the program, and I think he's a great example of it. He got his swag and then bought some more One Life stuff. So you get some cool One Life gear. And then there's also an opportunity, if you own a business, we have a business directory, and we have, on our YouTube videos, all of our sponsors get, there's a lot of opportunity for your business to get some exposure, some notoriety, and all the cool things that come along with that as well. So you can go to onelifefullylive.org/support. I'll throw the link there into the chat. And what's cool is, I'm a very big fan of infomercials. I find myself watching them more often than I should. But one of the best parts is the but wait, there's more, right? And we knew that we had to do that here because what's in it for you, right? But if you guys join today, right, there's about 15 of you guys who are here on the call. Some of you guys, actually, there's a number of you who are already in the contributor club. You guys, this offer is open to you as well for already being in there. But if you guys join today, you guys will get a quarterback call with Tim. And what's great is that you'll get a chance to just dive in and figure out what, lay out that roadmap. Tim, why don't you talk about what that quarterback call might look like? Because you mentioned that it's a pretty thorough process. So why don't you talk about some of the benefits of having that call?
Yeah, well, the first thing I ask you to do before we ever get on the call is just kind of send me your dream. Send me what you have that you'd like for me to look at. So I've got a good idea of where you are now and then how we can best help you. And we don't, we want a long-term relationship with you. We hope you stay with our contributor club and grow with us for years and years. So, you know, I've had this, that's another thing I've never counted is how many people I've won life and had this kind of call with. And I say once I bought into your soap opera, it's just really cool to see you grow and do your world and have your ups and downs. You know, this isn't, it's not like you just it's all gonna go like this. It's not a straight line, trust me. But that call is gonna, you know, set the table for your success with our program going forward. And just me getting to really know you and then knowing who is that next person that you should take a coaching call. You know, I said all of us have at all times in our life something really big we're working on right now, a problem or two we're trying to solve, and then something over here that's, you know, just a dream or a piece that's important but not quite that important. And those are the things, you know, it's just good to have somebody with no dog in your hunt take a good look at it and just give you good advice. So
yeah,
that's what it's like.
Absolutely. Is Saul on the call? We actually had someone, I don't know if Saul's on the call, but someone while we were talking just joined the Contributor Club. So I want to give a shout out to Saul. Thank you for hopping in, man. Let's talk about some questions.
They were on the call.
Maybe they had to hop off to go join.
I never saw that.
So let's talk about some common questions because they get coaching calls, right? And there actually are a variety of levels that you can get. The One Life supporter actually comes with essentially 2 coaching calls. You get one with Tim and you get one without, right? The superstar, if I'm not mistaken, you get essentially 3 calls, one at the beginning and then a couple throughout the year. And then the One Life master, you actually get essentially 5 calls, one every quarter. And so there's really, you know, a variety of different ways to get in. But Tim, if I'm not mistaken,
and that's not including the quarterback call that we talked about, correct?
Well, they do. So yeah. So they get 2 calls if they join at the initial level. They get 3 total calls if they join at the mid level, and they get 5 calls when they join as a One Life master. And so
thank you.
You get a call right away. You know, one of the things that we want to do is we want to make sure that you're in and you know that you're rolling right away. And so you get that call with Tim right away. And then as you know kind of progress and as the year progresses, those coaching calls become available so that you can use them when you know as they're needed. The second one is, how do I know which coaches I can choose from? So we actually have a whole host of coaches that you'll get a link to, and you can go through and browse their bio. You can kind of do some research on them. And I think our coaching, I don't want to sound terrible, you know, but I think like they're like a great garage. You know, I think of cars or like a stable is the word that comes to mind, because it's really, there are some high powered, you know, people in there. But I think we have close to almost 30 different coaches that you can choose from in all the different core 4 areas as well. Tim, this one came in. Can I have my spouse or team on the coaching calls? What is our stance on that?
Yeah, we're fine with that as long as a whole team didn't send in all of their, you know what I mean? Like a real estate team gets on a coaching call and they all send in their dreams for me to go over. That's probably not a good, yeah, that's not fair. But we can One Life your team through part of this. And if you own a business and you know want to have your team on there, I'm fine with that. So I would suggest you do them yourself, because becoming a great leader and a great business person that can lead that team is probably just as important, if not more important than, but although, who's to say? But yes, they can both get on there. And then you get to pick you get to pick our coaches. And we also there's 30 coaches in our program. But if you remember me saying, we have people for every little micro thing that you have. So if you want a nutritionalist, we probably have 5. If you want a meditation coach, we probably have 4. And they're not all on the list. So we know people.
Yeah, what I think is also great, one thing that we didn't get a chance to share in here was one of the stories that came in from one of our contributor club members. I want to scroll up and find it here because I think it's worth.
Oh yeah, George.
Just sharing. George is someone who has, I think he said it in here that he found or got introduced to One Life around 2017. He came out to an event out in Philadelphia and dove in and became a huge One Life supporter. He was a donor back then, and then when we started the Contributor Club program, he's one of the first people to join. And I think what I love about George is he's got a great heart, but not only is he a very giving person. This is actually a picture of him giving the One Life Roadmap journal to his nephew. So he's just a naturally giving person, but he's also someone who is very keen and very into investing into himself, investing into his family's future. He's got a couple of kids. He's got a wonderful wife. And you can see here that this was a post he made after getting a chance to talk to David Osborne. And David is not on he's technically not on our coaches list, but he's someone that, you can, potentially, right? There are just people like that you could get connected to. Yeah, through our program and through One Life. And that's what the quarterback call is really for, is to help you be able to identify who you should talk to, what the next steps are, and what you need to be focusing on, to upgrade that most important area. So that's only for, obviously Tim has a limited schedule. We can't give that to everybody. So assuming that you're joining today, that offer is good for you to be able to get some time with him as well. You just go to onelifefullylive.org/support. It'll ask you for your t-shirt size, because we'll send you a t-shirt. It'll ask you for some info on what level you want to join. It'll also go over all the different benefits that you can get as well. So
anybody have any questions on that? They've seemed to stayed on.
Yeah, we want to.
Hector, could you put the link in the chat? I was going to send you a message, but.
Yeah, I'll throw it in there if it didn't catch it to everybody. There's a.
Oh no, there it is. It's already in there. What a dork! Twice. So, does anybody have any questions on anything we went over tonight? We really appreciate you being on here with us because, like we said, we've never done this before. So it was fun to, have the team make the slides and go over just basically what is our program. We've never laid it down before, and it was fun to do it. So, Juliana, I'll have Hector, Alexandra get a hold of you. Yeah, and the current level you're at, it's $9 a month. So.
Yeah, and for anybody, there's actually, I know quite a few of you are actually part of the contributor club. So if there's any questions, not only about upgrading, but also getting your coaching or taking advantage of any of these, any of these opportunities or any of these programs that are within it, you can also email benefits@onelifefullylive.org, and that will take you to our benefits coordinator, and she can she can help you out and get you in contact with whoever you need to get in contact with as well. Just kind of like our concierge. The last question on here, Tim, was exactly how does this money go to throw down the rope? Because I know that a lot of us have invested into coaching or masterminds or conferences or whatever, but how does this actually help throw down the rope?
Sure. Well, so we are a 501c3 nonprofit, and we do have a team. Hector's on our team, Carolyn's on our team. I believe there's like 5 of us right now, and they all work, how can I put this, tirelessly for not a heck of a lot. And I started this in 2011. I've never taken a dime for it. It's a labor of love. I made my money elsewhere, and it's a passion project. So you can know that, we really care about this and want to make a difference. We feel like, candidly, we're fighting how can I put this, a battle towards empowerment versus more chillage. So we want to have people be as if it is to be, it's up to me, and take ownage of their lives. So all of the money that you put towards this, you can know it's being spent very wisely, creating our One Life Roadmap journal that's going to kids in schools, and it's going into prisons, and it's going into juvie and foster agencies, and just all these different places where they never hear of this. So you can know, while we're teaching you how to climb up the next steps to make your one life fully lived, just have the good feeling of knowing you're throwing down the rope to help others do the same.
Yeah. Thanks, Gianna, for that question. I think that's a great one. So guys, we've now been chatting for almost 90 minutes. So I want to thank you guys who have made it thus far with us. You guys are the rock of this community, and so we wouldn't be here without you, and nor would we continue, nor would it be worth continuing on without it's people like you who attend these calls and come to the events and all that kind of stuff. It makes it worth it. So if there's any questions, One Life related, Core 4 related, Fulfillment Triangle related, we'll give a few minutes here to just see if there's any last things. Otherwise, you guys can get in, if you guys are not already in the contributor club. It's onelifefullylived.org/support. And we actually have Jeff Hoffman is coming in for, I believe he's our next masterclass. He's going to be, or he's for June actually. And so you guys will get some information.
Phil Toll.
Oh, Phil. Phil is, the guy who saved Metallica is going to be coming in and talking to our contributor club members. So that should be fun.
Yeah. Hey, I'd just like to know if there's anybody on that, some of you are a little introverted, and you may have a question or a statement or something on your mind, and your little heart's racing, and you'd love to ask it, but you don't feel comfortable. We're not that community.